Rick here. Um, I remember during my college days when was going to college, and I was in taking a course called sociology. Um, in the classroom, okay, um, we were talking about unions, okay, and we were having a debate about it, okay. There was a young lady in the class, okay. I figure she was, well, in her early 20s. She felt that unions were bad, and, some guy who is a little bit older, okay, um, he started laughing at her, and, you know, um, the, the teacher, I think, said, why are you laughing? And so I don't think he made his point. Okay, why he felt unions, well, of course, was a lot better. Okay, um, but I was in my early 20s too, so I haven't had a whole lot of you know years experience working out in the general public to be able to tell the difference. Okay, I have worked for unions before, and I was gonna say, yeah, it's probably a lot better. Okay, the reason why I say that is because there's some companies out there, okay, that I've worked for, okay, in the window industry, okay. Um, Not all of them, okay, but for some of them, okay, uh, they're embezzling money off the workers, okay. Even my employer, my boss, was swiping my clock even when I was still out working on the road, okay. Because I was service guy for the vinyl window company, right? And I was supposed to be back at the warehouse at 3:30, okay, and I was still out there, okay, because I was stuck in traffic, right? Um, so I was, working, some overtime a lot of times during the summertime, right? Um, but if the boss of the union found out that, okay, if the company was union, the boss and what is it, the boss of the union found out that, yeah, the boss of the company was, swiping my time card, right? He would have got involved, right? And he would have, yeah, got him to stop doing that and pay me my overtime pay, right? Um, but because the company was non-union, okay, um, you can't complain to the head guy in the union about what the boss is doing, right? And I think this is quite a common thing, okay. um, Bosses cheating their workers, right? Especially if it's well, I've seen small companies do it, but even I'm pretty sure it's no different with the bigger companies too. Okay, um, you know the employer is yeah, embezzling money off their workers, right? Um, so you know um, if I had the years experience, I was in the class again, right? I would have just voiced my opinion. I said, a lot of employers out there, they're embezzling money off their workers, right? Um, you can't say that unions are bad, okay? Um, because, these sort of things in the industry does happen, right? It's not uncommon, okay? Um, because uh, that company too. While a lot of the workers were East Indian, a lot of them, you know, knew medium English, okay, to almost no English, right? And was the boss taking advantage of the workers, right? Lack of uh, knowledge, skills, right? Um, some people could say, yeah, he was doing that. He was taking advantage of the workers' just lack of knowledge and lack of English skills in the workplace, right? Um, and I think I remember when there was a company, okay, Allied Windows. They're not around anymore, okay, but I think they were around for like 15 years. They were a union. They were a union, okay, and they made a very decent, high quality vinyl window and patio door, okay. I don't know why they had to go out of business. Um, I like the quality of their window. I had Allied windows on my house, okay, and the patio door was made from Allied windows, okay. The workers are making a decent wage, okay. Unlike, the other big vinyl window company I was working for, where there was a lot of East Indian workers, I found out that they were only making, a little bit more than minimum wage, okay. And I'm sure a lot of them were struggling, um, at home with bills and things like that, okay, and with their expenses, okay. It is expensive living in the city, right? And you know, property tax goes up every year, right? So you have to pay more for, your property tax, right? Um, Even rents, I find, okay. It's very expensive around the city, right? That's why a lot of people, okay, they can't work for a minimum wage. If they do, they're going out to get another job, um, another part-time job on top of their full-time job already, okay? Um, and it puts a lot of stress on the worker, okay? Especially if it's a physical job, okay? And making vinyl windows in the warehouse, yeah, it was a physical job, okay? There was a lot of high pitched machinery, okay, in the warehouse, okay, and sometimes you're lifting up something heavy, right? Um, so I tip my hat off to them because sometimes they were working like 60 or 60 to 70 hour work weeks. Because after 3:30, when they were supposed to go home, okay, they stayed, okay, for another 3-4 hours, okay. So that means they were getting home maybe between 8 and 9 p.m. Okay, they're probably getting something to eat, and then um, you know do their daily things, right? And then they would have to be ready for work again at 7 a.m. in the morning, okay? And sometimes they were crossing over from one city to another city just, to get to work, right? So it was not easy, okay? And a lot of times too, bosses, okay, good bosses is what I'm saying, um, they would usually buy their workers, sometimes donuts or, their supper, okay, because, they're working that extra overtime, right? This guy, God, I don't think he ever bought his workers anything, okay, to eat for supper, and they're working through their dinner time, right? I've seen other bosses buy KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Subway, pizza, Little Caesar pizza or Pizza Hut, right? Um, because remember, okay, um, somewhere, a lot of times, okay, if you're getting the workers to work overtime, the company is likely making money, okay, and show your appreciation a bit. You're making your workers work through their supper time. Yeah, buy them their supper, right? Um, don't be so cheap sometimes, right? um, the workers, they do know that, right? And they'll start talking about it sometimes even behind your back, that you're kind of cheap, or you're uh, not the best boss, right? Um, and also too, if the company is union, okay, the boss won't uh, the boss won't likely try to sometimes do something crooked, okay, like embezzle money off the workers, right? Because this sort of stuff does happen out there, okay. um, you just have to sometimes, yeah, go out in the general public, start working for some different bosses, right? um, if you feel that, yeah, the boss is miscalculating your wage, right? You know, um, you could bring it up to the union boss, right? But if the company was non-union, okay, um, sometimes the worker might be too afraid to bring it up to the boss, right? And he'll just let the boss, embezzle money off him, right? Because that company I was telling you about that was embezzling money off the workers. Um, I know that there was some sort of disagreement at one time, okay, and she was kind of like, the Randy was kind of like the worker where uh, workers could bring problems to her, and you could listen to her, okay. She would try to help you out a bit or talk to you about the problem, right? And they the workers felt that they didn't like being treated a certain way in the warehouse, and Randy went up to the top of the office to talk to Wilford about it, okay. And Wilford said, I don't want to listen to this, okay. And Randy said to him, okay, if you don't do anything about it, I'm not going to work for you anymore. I'm going to leave the company, okay. I heard about 8 workers left the company that day. Okay, 8 workers. Okay, so that's about what? Um, that's about 60% of your workforce. Okay, because there was 16 people working in the warehouse. It was $1 million operation, buying a window company. Okay, and you just lost what? 60% of your workforce. Some of those workers have been with you since you started up the company too. Okay, so you have to remember, you didn't have that much money, okay? Your company wasn't even well established, right? And you know what? 8 workers, um, quit on you in one day, okay? Um, I wasn't with the company anymore, okay? I was with another vinyl window company, but because my boss, he still kept in touch with some of those workers, okay, that worked there. So he told me about it. That's how I knew about the story, okay. Um, so now your production, okay, you're making what, about 200 vinyl windows a day, and your production is really going to suffer. Um, you have 4 full-time installing crews, probably about 2 of them, okay, um, are going to be laid off now because you just don't have the amount of workers needed to be in the warehouse to make those extra windows, okay, and patio doors, okay. So the company is going to be losing a lot of money too, okay. Um, I myself, okay, if I was the boss, okay, I would have gave in to what she wanted, okay. Yeah, they just wanted, okay, they didn't want extra money, okay, they just wanted to be treated better in the warehouse, okay. They just felt that, okay, they weren't being treated well in the warehouse, okay, and they didn't like it, okay. Um, I thought that was kind of dumb of Wilford, not to have given in, um, you know, to Randy's demands, because like it wasn't like she was asking for like a big raise for the workers. Okay, had nothing to do with money. Okay, It was just, the workers just want to be treated better in the warehouse. Okay. Um, if the company was union, okay, um, I'm sure that um, Randy would have got what she wanted, okay, because all the other workers would have stood behind her in solidarity, right? And say, yeah, we want to be treated better in the warehouse. If you don't give us what we want, yeah, we'll all walk off the job. We'll be on the, sidewalk, okay, walking around with signs that say, on strike, right? Like I said, I'm making this for educational purposes too, okay? Because maybe, yeah, you're taking sociology uh, in college, right? And you see my video, right? And I'm saying that, yeah, unions are better than, non-unions, right? Just because I see in the workplace a lot of bosses are, embezzling money off their workers, or just, treating the workers, improperly, I feel, right? Um, and remember too, these workers, okay, they didn't know how to speak English that well, and yeah, I just felt that the boss was taking advantage of, that situation where the workers, yeah, they didn't know how to speak English that well, and he would, well, pay them minimum wage each year, okay, give them like a 5-10 cents raise, right? um, they're probably struggling at home, okay, with their bills, their expenses, right? Um, and the work was hard too, okay, because you have to remember I done the work as well too, okay. In production work, you work 100 miles an hour, and you do that for 8 hours during the day, okay. You have your breaks, right? And if you're working 3-4 extra hours, after the 8-hour shift, it's quite hard, okay.